are having fun playing tennis today. And I was thinking about what to offer you lovely people out there in the world, you beautiful people that are gluten-free and that want to be or try it. So today, I thought gluten-free buns. That way you can eat a hamburger again if you're gluten-free. So I will see you guys back at the Native Eats kitchen for gluten-free hamburger buns. Hey guys, and welcome back to Native Eats. Today we are doing gluten-free buns. And these buns are made from scratch and they can be used for a variety of anything you would use a hamburger bun for, from a hamburger to what I'm gonna make with them is a pulled pork sandwich from smoked pork that we made in an earlier episode that I promised everyone that I will make a pulled pork sandwich. And so that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna make those buns that can make any sandwich that you want. So first thing you want to do is you want to get some good water, and in this case I have well water. If you don't have well water, get some good water boiling. It doesn't need to be boiling, get it warmed. The temperature for your yeast, I believe, is 100, and I haven't temped my water in a long time for yeast, but if you have to temp it and make water, you probably want to get it to about 102, something like that. But I just use my faucet water because I've been making bread for over a decade, gluten-free at home, and then before that I made regular bread before I was gluten-free. So I just use my regular hot water, and I get it to 1.5 cups. It's really hot right now, but I am gonna add honey to this, so that's gonna cool it down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. All right. So you want to get your mixing bowl fitted with your dough hook. And this is the first step to making this bread. It is getting the yeast activated. Woo! Okay, so we're going to activate our yeast. You want to get your 1.5 cups of hot water in here. Before you put your yeast in, this is what's going to cool it down a little bit because you use really hot water from your faucet. And so you're going to put in... Squeeze me. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. You're gonna put it, we did not plan that. That's funny. All right, so we are gonna put in 2 tablespoons, roughly, maybe a third, just because it's so much fun. We're gonna put in 2 to 3 tablespoons of honey. Okay, enough fun today. Enough fun today, let's move on. Okay, enough being class clown. All right, so for now, for the moment, so stir in the honey. Now that you stirred in your honey, it's come down to temp a little bit, and you're gonna add in 3 teaspoons of your yeast. Tip: I keep my yeast in this. I've had this jar forever because I buy yeast in bulk, in big packets at bulk store, because you guys know that I have a million kids, so I only go to the what are they called, the membership stores or whatever you call them, surplus stores. And so anyway, so I buy them there, and then I keep my yeast, what I'm going to use, I pour in here, keep it in the refrigerator. That's the tip. Keep the yeast in the refrigerator. Keep your surplus yeast, if you buy it in bulk, in the freezer. Only keep enough yeast in your refrigerator that you're gonna kind of use in the next couple months. But the rest of it keep in the freezer, and then you can keep it in the freezer and it'll stay good. So that's a tip with yeast, if you keep some yeast around. So this is gonna start activating, and that's gonna take about 7 minutes. You can put the timer on at this point for 7 minutes, but I'm gonna show you real quick how we're gonna mix in the gluten-free flour part of this, okay? And so this is the trick, right? How do we get good bread? And this looks really chaotic right now. You're like, what the, right? I'm just gonna, say it outright. Gluten-free bread is not easy to make. There you have it. Most of my recipes, I start off and I say, this is so easy. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I've been doing gluten-free bread for a long time, and I've made some horrible gluten-free bread in my earlier years making it. And I just realized that wheat flour is really hard to replicate in a bread. You can tackle it in cookies, you can tackle it in cakes, you can tackle it, but the hardest thing to tackle is like a good bread, because it's either crumbly, dry, and it doesn't have that that little bit of a chew, it doesn't stay together well. And then, or conversely, it's like hard as a rock. you make it and it's like, Arr! So in order to negate all of that process, I had to really tinker around with millions of different combinations of flours, from sweet potato flour to teff flour to even tiger nut flour. You're like, what is that? It's gluten-free. So just all these ancient grains is kind of cool to tinker with to make this stuff, because it introduces your body to ancient grains that you probably haven't had in a long time, but it recognizes still because they're ancient, you know, they've been around and they haven't been GMO'd up and all that kind of stuff. So also easier to digest. So get into the flour now. Now after I gave you the flour lecture, I'm gonna show you the combination that I'm going to make today. First off, I'm gonna add my go-to Sunset, Divided Sunset, gluten-free all-purpose flour mix. This one is really good, but you can't just go and get any gluten-free flour like I just explained to you and just throw it all in. It's just not gonna work. This will be too crumbly, too dry, and possibly even too hard. So we're gonna add mostly that, then we're gonna add a little bit of tapioca and a little bit of millet. The millet's gonna give it kind of like that bready flavor, and the potato starch is gonna give it like a little bit of like it'll just finish it off and give it like that bread, you know, bready flavor and a little crunchiness that it's probably gonna need in conjunction with everything we're gonna add in. So we're gonna need 4 cups of this all together. The main ingredient is gonna be this. We're gonna do 2 cups of this all-purpose mix. 2 cups. And we're gonna do, let's see, we have 2 cups left to do. And I'm gonna do of the millet. I'm gonna start off with a half. Actually, I'm gonna do a cup of the millet. 1 cup of the millet, sorry about that. So far we have 2 cups of this Sunset, 1 cup of the millet flour, and we're gonna do 1/4 cup each of potato starch and tapioca. Okay, and as you can see, these are all organic. You really, when you're eating grains, you want to make sure you're getting organic grains. Wheat flour, by the way, is riddled with, unless it's organic, and then it probably still may have some percentage allotted. Probably same with this, but at least you're working with, you know, all organic and it's gluten-free, and you know, these are ancient. Some of them are not grains as much. All right, so let's talk real quick. This is how we're gonna get the stretch in. This is called, I've been through different trials in this and how to get the stretch, because this is a similar recipe when I do pizza dough for you guys, but it's got a little tweaks. So watch the pizza dough recipe if you want to do pizza dough. It's very similar. But psyllium husk, I found a couple of benefits to this. A lot of my recipes were calling for guar gum, xanthan gum to get that stretch. And I noticed that, number 1, it really didn't give much stretch. And number 2, xanthan gum's made from corn. And if you've watched my corn discussion, you know how Native Eats is not really corn approved. So watch the corn discussion. But xanthan gum is like a souped up corn, basically. It's like a refined corn. And then the guar gum is not bad, but it's like a dull flavor. And so anyway, it led me down psyllium husk. In Native Eats, I'm always encouraging eating things that not only are clean, organic, but how about things that actually benefit your body? You know, how about things that actually, and psyllium husk is actually a nutritional supplement. It's a nutritional supplement, and you can put this in water, I believe, and just drink it. It's kind of like Metamucil or something like that, and it's really good for your gut and your digestive tract. And so I thought to myself, how about having bread that was actually good for your digestive tract instead of bread that like gets caught up in there, that's the glutinous bread, and it's like gets all twisted and twined up and stuck and sticky. And then what if you actually had conversely gluten-free bread with ancient grains that were really good for you, and then on top of it, it has some nutritional value for your intestinal digestive tract while you're splurging and having that extra bit of grains. You've got psyllium husk in it, and you've solved your stretch problem. Win-win. So that's when I started using this. I love it. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons to this 4 cups of flour. Okay, and then salt. Of course, any bread, you need salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon and a half of that. And now, while we did that, this is all ready to go. And as you know, everything that I use, I always put together, so I know that I've already used it. And I don't go, did I put the salt in? Well, it's already in my pile over here of stuff that I already used. So I know that I put the salt in. Now we're gonna just give this flour mixture a quick stir. This beautiful gluten-free mix. Give it a quick stir. You don't have to get too fancy with this, but that's good. And we're about ready to drop in, and we're just gonna throw an egg in. This is also gonna help with, what the egg really helps it to not be so much of like a pizza dough, to be honest with you. That's really, you know, and a pizza dough is a little more stretchy, you know. And this kind of gives it more of a bun flavor and helps a little with the stretch. So this is a room temperature egg, and it's going right in to our yeast, water, and honey. And now we're just gonna start mixing this up and slowly putting in our flour into this mixture. And actually, I'm just gonna start off with a cup. Maybe a little more than that. Get that going. And remember, you can always add, you can take away. So that's why I start off with 4 cups in this recipe. And of course, you'll have some reserve. So if it starts looking like it's too thick of a dough, then you don't have to add the rest. And then of course you can add more. If you're gonna add more flour because it's too runny, we would go to the all-purpose mix at that point. So what I'm doing is I'm just touching it to see how sticky it is, because it looks like, come over here. You can see it's pulling away. So it looks like it's about ready, and you see what I have left? But it's a little sticky, and that's okay. And remember, I'm gonna add a little bit more, but remember what I said in previous shows about bread, if you watched the show at all, that, or about gluten-free flour, is that you can not really over-mix this too much. They say you should really let it go for a while, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I normally don't let it go that long, but it does like to be mixed. Gluten-free flour. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. And now while that's finished mixing up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get together our parchment paper on our cookie sheet for these buns. And I'm gonna show you how to whip up these buns without getting all like messy. Do I have on it? Yep. I got a little bit, but not a lot, because I don't need to get any more flour on me after this, because normally you would like get out a dough mat and roll out your dough and start making whatever shape dough you're gonna make. We're gonna skip that process because I'm a mother of 9, and sometimes I try to skip certain steps that I don't feel are super necessary for that reason, for purposes of time. Gluten-free bread is very finicky. Like every step of the process has to be just right for the bread to be good. I mean, heck, you're not supposed to be eating it. That's the whole point. So you're doing something altogether that's wrong. It's an oxymoron. You're gluten-free and you're trying to eat bread. And that's me. I'm not browbeating you for it. It's me all the way. Like, I'm a bread head. So this is why I have created all of these recipes for those of you who are like me, who are gluten-free but crave, you know, a good cookie here and there, bread, cake, and bread. Because the bread is the worst, right? And so the next step you want to make that I was getting into was the proofing. So do you proof? Do you not proof? What do you do? Ultimately, funny enough, this is the one easy part of the process. You don't need to preheat the oven. You don't need to use your proofer. I have a proofer. I'm not going to use it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the oven cold, and it's going to proof while it preheats. Because a lot of gluten-free, you know, I got down to the point where I would proof it, and what happens when you proof it is it over-proofs. Like, it's very quickly, and then it drops, turns into a flat disc. And so, then I did research, and you know, a lot of people said, hey, try no proofing. Just put it, you know. Then people say, put it, you know. No, actually, no one said put it straight in the cold oven. That was my invention, because I said no proofing. Okay, well, why not just put it in the oven, you know, while it's cranking up? That's what I started doing, and it seems to work pretty well. You can tinker with proofing, and you know, but you gotta wash your proofer like a hawk. You know, it's okay if it's a little sticky. You don't want it to be dried out. So that is it. I'm just gonna add that little bit of flour. And then here's your trick. Get yourself one of these little gadgets, a really good ice cream scoop with a scoop flip out. So you really want to get particular, and I think you should. Get particular. Get picky and get some spray, and spray your little scooper. Slightly sticky, slightly. Perfect. And we gave it about, I don't know, 10 minutes to mix there. And this is what it looks like. It doesn't look like right now a ball of dough, but it will. And you can see it's a little sticky, but not too bad. And that's what you want. Okay, so just kind of rounding it off there so I can work with it. And I'm gonna get my little scooper here. And I'm gonna make what I believe to be burger size, hopefully. Just about like that. No, you can see it. Let me come over here. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Here's another one. I'm kind of flattening them out so they get some roundness to the top there. And don't touch them. Don't let them touch. Find that sort of drags. It's like the crab in the bucket. It drags the other one down. And we want poofiness. You know, we want it to go up because it's easy to get flat. And then from here, I'm just gonna give them just a little push down. Not a lot. This is just gonna get, you know, kind of shape it into the burger bun size we're looking, or shape rather, that we're looking for, rather than a rustic. And that looks pretty good to me. Now that we got that, look how pretty those look. I'm gonna spray them. You could brush them. I found that this is so much easier to just spray. And then I'm gonna put them in the oven where they're on a little bit of a higher rack. Yeah. So that they brown on the top nicely. And cold oven, in we go. 420. Okay, and there's those beautiful little babies. Those are gonna go in we're gonna start off with 12 minutes, but I have a suspicion they might go a tiny bit more, but we're gonna start off with 12 minutes. And I'm gonna see you guys back in a minute when we pull these buns out of the oven. I'll see you in a second. All right, guys, come over here. Take a look at these buns. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it through my oven. That probably needs the glass cleaned a little bit. Believe it or not, this is clean. But these buns are looking magnificent. Magnifico. And so you have two options. You could prepare a little butter. And look at the temperature. It hasn't even came to temp. Do you see that? It's still at 345. And so that's kind of like the trick with gluten-free that I found is that this is your proofer. It's like this. And so I'm letting it go a little bit longer because I think I did 12 minutes, but they look like they could brown a little bit more. So what you can do is I'm gonna put them on for another 2 minutes, but at this point you could get a little saucepan and put a little butter and melt that and get a brush ready to brush these with a little butter. I kind of quit doing that. I used to do it for flavor and all stuff. You should really, I just realized you just don't really even need it. And it does kind of, so what I do is you saw me use the spray, because if you don't give them a little something on the top when they come out, they tend to be sometimes a little crumbly. But if you give them a little something on the top of the buns, brush them with either some butter or some of this avocado spray. I like the avocado spray because it doesn't have the milk fat in it that gets it soggy and all that kind of stuff. This is just a straight up good oil. Like I said, gluten-free is finicky. So you have to be, you know, you have to be on your game with gluten-free. So these are almost ready. They really do need that last minute. We're gonna pull these out and spray them. And you saw how I put them on the top of the oven because, you know, you want your bun, if you like your bun to be golden brown, and most people do, it's hard to get them golden brown in the middle of the oven for some reason. And my oven is not some sort of different oven. It's a pretty average oven. So I always put them on the top to get that nice golden brown on the top. They're almost in red heaven. And then I want you guys to watch the videos, what I do with these buns, different videos. One that I know of that I'm gonna post is pulled pork. It's farm-raised pork that I smoked. It's a smoked meat. You can look at that episode. And then the other episode, which is gonna be the pulled pork sandwich with plantains that I made. So check that out. That's what I'm gonna do with these particular buns. But I have lots of things that I do with these buns, and I'm sure you can think of a million things to do with these beautiful buns. They are ready. And it's only at 385 degrees. Didn't even get to 420, really. These look so pretty. They just look so pretty. I'm just checking them because I honestly do feel like they could go a little longer. Okay, I do feel like that. So I'm gonna add another 2 minutes. Don't mean to stall y'all here, but what are we at now? I started at 15 minutes and then I added another 4 minutes. So that's 19 minutes. These are probably a 20-minute bake off on that. So yeah, so we're gonna just let these go another 2 minutes. All right guys, these are definitely ready now after 19 minutes, 20 roughly in the oven. And look at that. Look at that. And you wanna spray them pretty quickly. So look at how the luster comes out. It's almost like you're finalizing a painting and you're putting that glaze on top when you put that. And that's it. Those are my gluten-free, awesome burger buns.